Why Not? A queer podcast.
Hi, everybody. I'm Rick Todd.
And I'm Jeremy Williams. You're listening to Wine.
Why Not? A queer podcast.
Episode 70.
I know. It doesn't say that on the sheet.
It sure doesn't, but I made a note.
Whoever's in charge of that is really slacking.
It's almost like they're going on no sleep.
70.
70.
Oh
Yes.
my gosh. 30 away from 100. I can math.
Good. And that's going to come right, like, it's just going to jump up right on us. We need to start planning our special 100th episode.
That will be in either December or in January, right? Because 50...
I don't know. What's 30 weeks from now?
Well, I mean, I was just thinking like we started in January or February or something like that, and 52 is 104. So it'll be...
That's some smart math you did there.
It'll be 4 weeks before our anniversary.
Unless it's full moon cycle, carry the 4 if it was a leap year.
Mercury's in retrograde. Yeah. So you must have quit.
Catherine.
Chewbacca does not live on Endor.
Caitlin is looking it up. What is it? Ooh, right before Christmas.
Ooh.
It's our special holiday 100th episode.
You know what we should do is
maybe we'll have Santa on. Do you know who? Okay. Nobody listening to this podcast, well, maybe a few, will know what I'm talking about.
Santa's listening.
Do you remember, and we'll get a little more into this, we went and saw a Fringe show last week, and there was a very handsome fella in the audience when we went to see the juggling show. You remember the hot guy?
There was?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Anyway, I found out over the weekend that he is in that Becoming Santa show. So maybe we'll have him on the Christmas episode. Yeah.
Okay, I'm operating on like zero sleep. Can you describe to me where this hot guy was sitting?
I believe he was sitting in front of... Oh, you know what? It might have been in the Dr. Seuss one, the Grinch one.
That's what I was thinking.
He had an attractive woman with him. They looked like they were probably a couple. No. Do you remember the Dr. Seuss show?
How could I forget it? I can't wait to talk about it.
Do you remember Fringe? Do you remember we do Fringe? Anyway, he's very attractive.
You know what? I will say this, right? Because we know. I don't have to go into too many details. I used to drink a lot, and I kind of remember at times I was sitting at a bar telling a story, and I would think, I'm not going to remember this tomorrow.
Yeah.
And although I am not drunk right now, I can guarantee you I won't remember what we say on this podcast tomorrow. So I'm going to listen to it. It'll be fun. I'll learn just like everybody else.
Nice. Well, future Rick, when you're listening, there's this hot guy in the Santa show. You really need to see it. Anyway, so yeah.
I mean, I'm sad that I don't remember.
Oh, which is funny because you pointed him out to me. You were like, huh?
Oh, yeah?
Don't tell my husband. No,
well, good thing he doesn't listen to this podcast. He'll never find out.
But no, yeah, he was a good-looking fella. And he's in I think it's called Becoming Santa. So if you're listening, hi. if you're out at Fringe, go see that show.
On an unrelated note, any nudity in that show?
Becoming Santa? I haven't seen it. I just saw him and his lady friend wearing the Becoming Santa shirts. So they might not even be in it. They may just be huge supporters of the show.
So we're going... No, that's true. We're going to Fringe today. I want you, when you see him, I just want you to yell, "That's him!"
Okay.
And
I'm going to point.
Yeah.
Like, Rick!
That's the hot guy!
Rick! Remember when I said there's a hot guy? That's the hot guy.
You know, people who listen to this podcast don't know this because the podcast has not been going on for years. But you reminded me when you're like, Rick, that we were at, what was it? It was the Metro Gala in Tampa Bay.
Yes.
And there was the president of the business chamber was giving a very emotional speech about a bridge. And
we were sitting at the table.
And he was very emotional about it.
I had a few
Jeremy
drinks.
had way more drinks than he ever has here at this podcast and was like whisper yelling to me because he couldn't believe that this guy was crying. And so he starts going, Rick, like thinking he's whispering. And I'm just sitting there like, you need to shut up. Rick, he's crying.
That's all true. That is all true.
That was an interesting. There was something else interesting going on because we had an employee who was there who just started dating somebody who donated art, and there was something about that going on.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of weirdness.
It was a cuckoo event.
It was cuckoo. Not as cuckoo as that one event when you were texting that guy on Grindr.
Oh, Lord.
We won't go into
We won't go into the details, but Lord, some of the things that happen at some of these events.
Oh, my goodness.
It's a good thing we didn't have a podcast.
I'll just say this.
Then.
So somewhere around Lakeland, I don't know, or Tampa or Lakeland, somebody was like hitting Jeremy up on this app. And Ryan and I were telling him what to say to this person, and it got out of control.
No, it was pre-Ryan.
Oh, it was
you
Jake.
And Jake.
It was Jake.
Yeah.
Jake and I were telling
and they were just getting weirder and weirder with what I needed
because
to tell him.
we said tell him something weird, and the guy
he would
was
totally
like,
get into
he
it.
was into it,
and I was like, I can't play this game anymore. We must stop.
Yeah, we won't go into too many details, but he was like, make sure you drink a lot of water. We're like,
moving along.
Oh yeah, and you know what happens if you were to like say, hook up with this person and need some medical attention afterwards? We could thank our sponsor for that.
Yeah. So let's do that.
Pineapple Healthcare, an award-winning primary care clinic right here in Orlando.
Pineapple Healthcare offers mental health counseling, HIV, STI testing and treatment, and specializes in care for the LGBTQ plus community.
Open Monday through Saturday. Call today at 407-553-6336 and schedule your appointment.
Pineapple Healthcare, better together. You know,
Dun, dun,
because of our wonderful sponsor, I utilized their services this past week.
Oh, yeah?
Yes. Particularly one of the
it.
things that really excited me is one thing you said, open Monday through Saturday. I love being able to go to a clinic or see a doctor or someone on a Saturday because, you're busy, your life's busy, you work Monday through Friday. But for those who are only listening and can't hear it in my voice, I am fat. So I'm going on Ozempic, or I am on Ozempic now, thanks to Pineapple Healthcare. Went and saw the doctor, met with Dr. Eric. Great guy, was really friendly and got me set up with everything I needed and started me on my weight loss journey.
So they specialize in LGBTQ plus care.
Yes, their main focus is HIV care, which if you listen to this podcast or read Watermark or have been out to any event where I've had a few drinks, I'm HIV positive. So they work with...
Are you sure?
Oh, I'm HIV positive. So they work in all facets of sexual health and focusing on HIV care. So something a lot of people don't know is there's been a lot of advancements in HIV medications. And a lot of those medications, while it's great they keep you alive, they also make it easier for you to put weight on. So one of the things that they do at Pineapple Healthcare that they're doing with me is they offer Ozempic for patients who qualify and to help combat the weight gain. So we're working on that.
So if you do not have HIV, can you go to this clinic?
That is an excellent question. I believe because they do offer primary care. Oh, you know what? What a stupid way for me to answer. Yes, you can, because I have a friend who goes to Pineapple Healthcare and he is negative.
Okay, so I have two more questions. Because it is HIV and sexual health.
I dropped my
So
hanky.
we've established that you can go if you are not HIV positive.
Yes.
What if you are not sexually active?
Excellent question. I also have a friend who is not sexually active, and he went. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to be sexually active. Their main focus while it's HIV is overall is LGBTQ care. So I do know that they offer primary health.
Now, what if...
For anybody, I believe.
What if your participation in LGBTQ plus is that of a gay associate? Like a fruit fly.
Well, I'm fairly certain they're not.
I was trying to say it in a nice way. And then I was like, just so you understand.
I don't know the laws of it, but I think it's illegal for them to refuse service based on your sexual orientation. So I'm pretty sure that they would be good to go there.
Well, I have a feeling that we'll find out before the week's over because somebody's going to listen to this podcast and they're going to be like, yeah. Well, I have a friend who is
Not LGBTQ.
not well, I mean, I don't know. I feel like living inside of her somewhere is a gay man.
Sure.
And she's got this problem with her health insurance and everything, and I'm like, you need to go to somebody else. You just need to. There's been a bunch of debacles, and I'm like, you just need to go somewhere else. And I feel like she would benefit from. I think Ozempic is made for certain people, and I think she's one of them.
Yeah. Damn, I mean, a call wouldn't hurt. I mean, what's the worst they can tell you? You're not a gay man. Don't come here. I don't think that they do that.
And if they do that, give us a call.
I'm sure she'll call you first.
News is slow.
No. But they're great over there.
No, they're great.
And they have been very, very kind, not only to myself and my health, but also to this podcast by sponsoring it. So
have you started your shots?
I started on Saturday. Had my first shot. Super easy. It's once a week. Now there's two kinds of drug. They do Ozempic there, but there's also Wegovy, which is out there, which is the same medication as Ozempic. But from what I can tell from my Google searches, is Wegovy starts you right away on the high dose. I think it's a 1 milligram dose. Ozempic works you up. So you start at a quarter dose, then work up to half milligram, and then up to the full milligram. Which, from what I can tell from people online, is actually better because your body adjusts to the medication instead of just being hit with that full milligram right away, which I've read can cause side effects more often.
Would you say that you are microdosing?
In the beginning, before I'm full dosed.
I watched this show, The Good Fight, which is a spinoff of The Good Wife.
Yeah.
And she was microdosing in one of the episodes, and it looked like fun.
Yeah. Well,
it was under a doctor's care.
Oh, as long as it's under a doctor's care, then you're fine.
Drugs are bad, okay, unless it's under a doctor's care.
But yeah, so I'm super excited to start my weight loss journey. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's going to motivate me to work out.
Yeah.
Because as I said to you earlier, I refuse to be the fat one on the podcast.
Yeah.
Or like the only fat one.
Yeah, I hear you. I have a friend who, when I told them I was going on Ozempic, his exact words were, "Damn it, I will not be the fat friend." And I was like, "Yes, you will."
When you lose all that weight, who should we replace you on the podcast with? Because you're not going to be funny anymore.
Oh my God. That's the reason he said he didn't want me to lose weight. He said, historically, fat funny people, when they lose the weight, they're not funny anymore. And I gave him a list of examples where that's not true.
Let's hear it.
Melissa McCarthy lost weight. She's still hilarious.
Melissa McCarthy.
That's it. I mean, who is that one actress lost all that weight? She's still kind of funny. Rebel Wilson?
Is she still funny?
I mean, I don't know if she's less funny because she's thinner or she's now a lesbian.
Or is what you find out that they were never funny to begin with, you just laugh because you felt bad because they were large.
I don't know. I also feel like we're dangerously close to getting canceled on something here. So we'll just say Rebel Wilson is funny.
Look,
Melissa McCarthy is funny at any size.
Can we not?
You can be whatever size you want and still be funny.
Absolutely.
Thank God we're not doing anything with these videos.
Look, we're overweight. We can talk about it.
I'm fat. I can say. You know what I have realized as being a fat person? Fat has become a dirty taboo word for other people when they're around me. Like they think they're going to offend me if they say the word fat, which is hilarious and kind of weird. But I like the word fat.
I've got
you know what I like better than fat? Fatty. I like the word fatty. Anyway, what were you going to say?
Do you like fatty daddy?
I don't hate that.
Well, get somebody to call it to you now because it's about to go away.
That's true.
No, my roommate, she's got these friends that are large.
Yeah.
And they're sisters, and they completely rip each other apart on Facebook all the time. I mean, it's kind of hilarious. Like they'll post, like they posted a picture of a pig rolling down a hill, and she would post it and say, "Oh, my sister's having summer fun," or something like that. It's hilarious.
Good for them. Good times. But yeah, so we'll track my progress on this podcast.
Do you feel like we're in Congress? Like we just went through this whole body shaming segment. Wasn't that what the big fight was about? They were were they?
No, it started with Marjorie Taylor Greene talking about, and I forget her name, but one of the Congresswoman's eyelashes. She said, your fake eyelashes are in the way. And then AOC was like, how dare you? How dare you jump down her throat like that?
I haven't heard from AOC in a while.
They went back and forth, and then that that Congresswoman whom Marjorie Taylor Greene originally attacked, and I'm gonna get this wrong, but she said because she had said that she wanted MTG to be silenced for the rest of the hearing because it went against the decorum of blah 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 blah. And the guy head of running the committee, who is a Republican, was like, no, she's fine. So then the Congresswoman was like, so if somebody was hypothetically to call her a bleach blonde, what was it? Bleach blonde, buff built bitch or something. I don't think she said bitch, but it basically.
I feel like the word linebacker might have been in there. No,
it was all bees. It was
okay.
It was actually very poetic the way she said it. It was all bees. And we're pulling it up here on the screen. It's bleach blonde, bad built butch body. God, I want that on a t-shirt. So that's what she said. And then the funniest part is after that, they cut to the Republican who's running the committee and the head Democrat who are side by side. And the Republican guy goes, what? Well, I don't understand. What did she say? And the Democrat guy puts his head in his hand, starts laughing because he thought it was hilarious. And I was like, oh, Congress.
Well, that doesn't sound like... It sounds like the media blew it out of proportion, saying that it erupted in chaos.
Well, they did start hollering at each other for a minute, and then it simmered down.
Where is it that Parliament beats each other up? Is that like...
Oh, there's several.
Like,
I know Spain has done it. Back in the day, England used to beat the shit out of each other. I think India, is that one where a lot of those videos come from?
I know there's like an Asian country where people just like start beating the hell out of each other.
Screaming and yelling and then dragging people through the streets.
I don't want to get there. But one of the people involved in that story does look like they have a punchable face.
I don't disagree.
So I wouldn't mind seeing that. Just going to put that out there. I know you're listening. Take one for the team.
Yeah.
So tell
yeah.
me, did you have a good week? Are we 2 weeks?
I had a busy flipping week.
Yeah.
This is probably one of the busiest weeks I have had in a long time. So we'll just run through it. Earlier in the week, you and I did something together.
We did.
We went and saw the Broadway tour of Peter Pan.
We sure did.
I don't know about you. I know that there's a Peter Pan musical. Sandy Duncan did it back in the day, and I guess Allison Williams did, and Christopher Walken did a live version on NBC. Haven't seen any of those. Yeah. Danny was telling me about it.
Who did Christopher Walken play? Geppetto?
He played Captain Hook.
Really?
Yeah, and he sings apparently. I'm intrigued to see how he sings. I'm not going to try to do the voice, but my brother does a good impersonation of Christopher Walken.
I want him to call into the show and say something like, I'm going to get you Peter Pan as Christopher Walken.
I'll have him do that. I'll have him do it for the socials.
All right.
I know that it was a musical. I had never really seen the musical.
I've never seen it.
I was a huge fan of the Disney movie. I'm not a big fan of I feel like there was a period there in the early to mid 2000s where they did 19 Peter Pan movies. And I saw a couple of them and all of them sucked.
Like with Robin Williams and Julia Roberts?
That was Hook. That was in the 90s. That was an amazing
I would
piece
like
of
for you to know something though. I'm going to need you. I'm going to need you to understand this. That was a Peter Pan movie.
That was. What I'm saying is there was a group of Peter Pan movies in the early 2000s.
See what the best one was? Finding Neverland.
That was okay. I don't consider that a Peter Pan movie. That's a movie about the author.
I'm just trying to say something that's going to make you go crazy. So I guess I'm going to stick with the Robin Williams one.
Yeah. Again, 90s.
We're
talking 2000s.
I hear that Julia Roberts was not well liked on the set of that show.
I have heard that, yes.
She was a little Emma Roberts, if you know what I mean.
Dig at the Roberts
I'm
family.
just kidding, Emma. I know you're listening. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, apparently early in her career, after she made it big from Pretty Woman, I've heard rumors. This is all alleged. I was not on any of these sets, and I don't know her personally. But yeah, there were stories that came out that she was difficult to work with. And,
I'm sure she was lovely.
but I'm sure she had her reasons. I mean, when you become famous overnight like that, it gets weird. The celebrity gets weird.
And then it gets more difficult to hang out with stupid people.
Mm-hmm. It sure does. Anyway, so we went and saw Peter Pan. So my only association to this was, hey, I really like the Disney movie. I don't know. I've seen a couple of musicals from Broadway that were on tours that were tied to movies that were also Disney movies. Not all of them, I don't think, were necessarily Disney. But I mean, we saw The Lion King, which was fine. And I saw Aladdin, which was good.
Frozen. Did
Frozen
you see that?
was all right. Yeah, Frozen was all right. Little Mermaid, not so good.
Oh, God.
That was terrible, actually.
Can we review Little Mermaid real quick?
Awful.
We understand you're in the water. You don't have to swim the whole 2.5 hours of the show.
Yeah, they did. All the actors do
We
this
get it.
weird moving their
Like
hands
this.
thing to make it look like they were in the water. Very
And
weird.
there's a scene towards the end where Flounder is like this, and then Flounder gets out of the water, and he stops doing it. And then he gets back in the water.
So you know he's in the water. Anyway, so I and we talked about this watching the show. With the animated movies to the Broadway stage, they tend to lean into like the seriousness of it. I mean, there's like fun, like Aladdin has some fun moments, but it almost seems like they try to adult it up. And this was full on, felt like a Nickelodeon Disney Channel production.
Unadulterated kids show.
Absolutely kids show.
Unapologetically kids show.
And I flippin' loved it.
To the overly hammed faces of the extras, like, no.
Dug it. So amazing. Crocodile in a crocodile suit on his hands and knees crawling across the stage.
On like, you know when you move furniture and you got those little squares that have wheels on them and you put things on to push them? That's what the alligator was on.
Yeah, and
or he's like either he's on a skateboard
just
and he's
sliding himself across the stage. Hilarious. Amazing.
Now that was not like great effect, but I will say like there were some great effects in this. And the kids were on, I mean the kids fly and they are kids. And they did a really good job at that.
Yeah.
But there was like the scene in the beginning when Peter Pan had found a shadow and was dancing with his shadow. That was really cool.
Yeah.
How they did that, because it was his actual shadow, and then all of a sudden it's not. They had to do it all with lighting or something weird, but it was really cool. And then when they flew to Neverland, also super cool.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great show. If you want to go see it, it's not at Dr. Phillips anymore. But
incredibly adorable. But look it up. I will say it stars Nolan Almeida as Peter.
Yep.
And Cody Garcia as Hook.
You want to hear something stupid on my part?
I already know what it is.
Okay, so for those who have seen Peter Pan, I guess this is something they do with all the Peter Pan musicals. Captain Hook, the actor who plays Captain Hook, also plays the father at the beginning. I had no clue. I thought it was two separate actors, and when they came out to do their bows, Captain Hook came out, the mother came out, and I'm thinking to myself, where the hell is the father? Why didn't he come out to bow? And then it was told to me, Captain Hook and the father are the same actor. And I was like, wow.
They were really good. They were really good. Because they're non-binary.
Yeah.
I mean,
so
they weren't good because they're non-binary.
Captain Hook is played by Cody Garcia. And then Smee, who, if you've seen the show or seen the movie or whatever, read the book, is Captain Hook's sidekick. It's played by Kurt Perry, who is so flamboyantly delightful in this show. They definitely I don't know if I was telling you this story, if I was telling Caitlin this story, but when Hook came out, one of the greatest Peter Pan movies ever in the 90s, they did an interview with Dustin Hoffman, and he said that when he recorded, they couldn't blatantly come out and say Captain Hook and Smee were in a relationship together, but him and Bob Hoskins played their characters as if they were a married couple. And that's why it has that kind of funny, annoying banter like married couples do. And I feel like that's what they did in this also. They played it very much like they were a couple, which I loved.
Culture appropriation. It's okay.
Well, I mean, not if
Let me
they're...
write that down for Hook. No, they're just actors. It's okay.
Oh, those two. It was the 90s. They were allowed to culturally appropriate.
I'm sure I did that in the 90s.
But yeah, so it was a really good show. Really dug that.
No, in the 90s, I went to a Halloween costume party.
Careful, Richard.
I know.
Careful.
Luckily, I was smart enough.
Who did you dress as?
I was smart enough to be the biker in the Village People.
Ah. Ooh. Did someone in your group not dress as the biker?
I'm sure. I mean, we had the whole crew. In fact, we did it.
I'm so nervous right now.
No, we Watermark did a disco bowling thing that HRC was doing as a fundraiser every year. We sponsored it and we went, and we went as the Village People one year for that. I think for that I was a construction worker, but somebody.
I'm getting so nervous.
So moving right. I just
probably best we don't finish that story.
I thought that people were super talented. I was surprised that we liked it. It was delightful. It was just joyful and good.
Yeah, it was just fun. They were all talented.
The sets were good. It wasn't
the sets were beautiful.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, really, really, really good.
I highly recommend. Look it up. Look it up online.
Yeah.
And go see it.
Go see it. Find some place.
I want to do this. So
get some fairy dust and fly to it.
I don't know if I told you this, but we do this like rating system, right? Where we were doing like sweet grapes and sour grapes, and I decided I don't like that. Look, we're figuring this out as we go along. Work with us here. We should do it on a scale of grapes, 1 to 3. I'm gonna give this 2.5 grapes.
I'm gonna give it 3. Fantastic. Grapes for everyone.
My 3 grapes ratings are reserved for Air Supply concerts. I just want to let you know. So if you get 2.5 from me, you're doing really good.
My half grapes are reserved for Air Supply, so it'll balance it out. Anyway, so after Peter Pan, I spent back-to-back days at the Plaza Live here, which is they're still working. They're working on some construction there, trying to get it the front all beautiful. But the inside, they installed a new sound system. They got new seating, and it's really, really it's fantastic in there. They had a great sound system. But we went on Friday and saw Kathy Griffin, My Life on the PTSD List, which was good. Have you ever seen her in concert?
I have.
How long did she talk?
I hear she talked a long time for this one, but it's been a while since she's been here, so she probably had a lot to say.
She went almost 2.5 hours.
That's a long time.
Like by the 2-hour mark, I saw people starting to like nap. At the hour mark, when people realized, oh, she's going to go more than an hour, they started in groups going back up to the bar. And then for the rest of the show, just people were up and down all throughout the show, just getting more and more drinks.
Probably loved it, though. When I saw her, it was at the Ruth Eckerd Hall in Clearwater.
Yeah.
And she was good. Like, it felt like I was sitting in her living room and she was doing a show just to me. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, she was very entertaining. If you watched her show, My Life on the D-List, or you've seen any of her other comedy specials, she focuses on, obviously, Hollywood gossipy, celebrity gossip jokes. And I was curious, because after all the stuff with the Trump, how much of it was going to be that, or how much of it was going to be like, I have PTSD and, I hate Donald Trump. And there was some of that, but it was mostly the celebrity gossip thing.
Did she talk about Andy Cohen?
She did not. I was prepared to shout out to the stage, fuck Andy Cohen, if she mentioned his name, but she didn't once.
You should have just done it anyway.
I should have just done it anyway.
She should have been like, so I went to West Hollywood, and then you're like, fuck Andy Cohen.
And she'd be like, yes. But some things I learned about her. First, she was neighbors with Kanye West and Kim Kardashian for a while, which I didn't know that, which was crazy. She had some crazy stories about them. And then she is in a chat group with Rosie O'Donnell and a couple of other older female comedians, as a quote unquote, an auntie group for Paris Hilton. Not auntie, like an auntie. Like they're the aunts of Paris Hilton.
I was like, why do they hate Paris Hilton?
I don't know if you knew. I didn't know any of this, but Paris Hilton. You remember those? There was a lot of talk this over the last couple of months. Those camps for like troubled kids, and like their parents arranged for the people to break into their house and to kidnap their kids and take them to these camps. Have you heard of this? Have you seen this? Have you heard of this?
I mean, I was inducted into the Thespian Honor Society that way.
Okay, it's sort of like that, but they take you to a camp where they abuse you. There's a documentary series, I think it's on Max, where they talk about this. And parents who are having trouble with their kids have this quote unquote therapy group break into their house, kidnap the kid, throw a cover over their head, throw them in a van, and take them out in the middle of nowhere to this camp where they're supposed to teach them values. And almost all of them they're abused there. Paris Hilton was taken to one, and she says she was sexually assaulted, sexually abused. And so she has lobbied to have laws passed against this. So this group of comedians that Kathy Griffin and Rosie O'Donnell are a part of started up a chat group and almost like watch over Paris Hilton, check in on her, meet up with her, and just make sure she's doing okay. So Paris Hilton had a party, invited all her aunties to it, and it was a pink and glitter party. And apparently Rosie O'Donnell hit up Kathy Griffin. She's like, I don't own anything pink and sparkly. I'm a dyke. I don't own that kind of shit. What am I supposed to do? So Kathy Griffin went shopping and bought her a scarf that was all pink and glittery. And she goes, you wear that, you'll be fine. But they went to the party, and it was just some crazy stuff happened. Crazy. Rosie O'Donnell, I would like to sit down and just have a chat with her because she seems like she'd be a fun broad to chat with.
I just want to hang out with her so I can look at her and be like, Ellen Sue, one more.
I bet she'd love that
movie.
But she's friends with Cher. She's friends with Sharon Stone.
I'm not that character. I'm a human being. One more.
But it was a good show. It was long, but it was good. I'm glad that I went.
Did she say anything about her interview with Ryan?
She did not. I was waiting because I was going to be like, fuck Ryan. No, she didn't at all. Although what she did do, which was annoying to me, but also kind of funny, is she placated to the audience. Like when you go to a stand-up show, and they start off by trying to get on your good side by being like, I love Orlando. And she did the same thing. She's like, I just want to say I love Orlando. And earlier today, I went to Beefy Kings. They're like, yeah, we love Beefy Kings. And then she's like, and you guys have some, she goes, I'm disappointed in Florida as a whole because you all voted for Ron DeSantis. What's wrong with you? And they're all like, boo, Ron DeSantis. And she's like, but locally, you guys are doing great because of your mayor, Buddy Dyer. They're like, yay, we love Buddy Dyer.
Oh, my God.
She did this for like 15 minutes, and I was like, I hope this is the whole fucking show.
The only thing that would make me appreciate that is if there was someone standing on stage whispering in her ear, and then she was like, and your mayor, Buddy Dyer.
Almost. She had a table with bottles of water and note cards. So she was reading the note cards. And then finally she did say, the one person who I am just absolutely impressed with and I love is your city commissioner, Patty Sheehan. And Patty Sheehan was in the audience and stood up, and she's like, yay, Patty. And I'm like, all right, calm down.
Didn't the gay juggler do that? No, I'm just kidding. I like Patty. Good for her.
Yeah.
Good for her getting a little recognition.
She got into a little bit of the darker stuff. Apparently, after when she hit rock bottom with the cancer and the Trump stuff, she tried to commit suicide. So she talked about the suicide, but she made it hilarious. So we all laughed at it.
That sounds hilarious.
But it was a good show. So I'm very glad I went. If you get a chance to catch her, go see her. She's hilarious. And then Saturday, back to the Plaza Live for Michael Carabinero, lives on stage. His comedy magician-y show. I don't know what you call it. He did tricks. And that was a great show. I had never seen him in concert before. And he was fantastic. I brought my brother and his girlfriend. We went, and after it, he was like, I figured out how he did a couple of tricks. I was like, why do you do that? When I see magicians and stuff, I specifically just kind of blank my mind and don't try to figure out how they did the tricks. I want to be entertained. So like when magic happens, it's like, oh my God. And my brother's like, I saw how he did that. And I was like, I don't care. I didn't. And I was fooled.
Did he see how he pulls a puppy out of a flat envelope? Because he does that on his show.
Yeah, I didn't see that one. That's also on TV, so that
they swear they don't use camera tricks.
I mean, he does say a lot of times in the show that he lies all the time.
Oh, really?
In fact, the show is called Lies on Stage, and he goes, "My job is lying to you all."
The important thing that I want to know is he as cute in person
Oh my God.
as he is on stage?
Hold on, I'm going to read this note verbatim what I wrote. Michael Carabinero, great show. Holy shit, he's very attractive in person. I didn't realize how hot he was. He's pretty charming too.
Yeah, I used to before
He's super hot in person.
before I met my husband and got married.
Mm-hmm.
I used to be like, I'm just a meet away from getting married to Michael Carbonaro.
I loved him. I thought he was hilarious, charming, gorgeous. He came out in the audience, but we were on the left side, and he came to the left side once, but all the other times he went to the right side because he would pull people on stage. And I was like, apparently he doesn't like the left. He likes the right.
I'm glad that I wasn't there because I detest audience participation.
Oh, yeah. There was a lot of it.
Well, I mean, it's his whole shtick, right? It's his whole act, I guess I should say. But yeah, I'm a big
Mostly
fan.
kids,
Now,
though. He mostly pulled kids on stage.
I know that he's listening.
Of course.
So I just want to say, Michael, it's too late. Don't call me. I'm married.
So is he. You've both moved on.
I'm sorry. I'm happily married.
Oh. I will say, because I did get a chance to chat with him before the show. We did an interview with him for Watermark. And
I thought you were like, yeah, I saw him. I went backstage. We had a little conversation.
Oh, God, I wish. But no, we talked about him and his husband got married 10 years ago. They're celebrating their 10th wedding anniversary this year. And they seem to be doing great.
Good.
Yeah, so good for them.
It's good to see, famous people that are in relationships doing well. I like that.
Yeah.
Happy for him. Hey, I think he's great. I've always been a fan.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Especially that show. Did you see that
show?
show? Another Gay Movie?
Yes.
I liked
we
it.
talked about it.
We did.
Yeah, we talked about it on here.
I don't know how many grapes I would have given that one for real, but I enjoyed it.
Next time I talk to him, because the last time I've talked to him like 3 times. The last time I talked to him, we talked about Another Gay Movie, and I didn't want to bring it up. Like, I don't want to bring it up every interview because he's like, I did that movie 20 years ago. Can we talk about what I'm doing now? But I do want to find out if he still has, he still talks with
those vegetables. Oh
no, with Graham Norton. I want to see if they still keep in touch because they have a very memorable scene in that movie.
Belgian chocolate. You know what you should suggest when you talk to him? Suggest that they do another gay movie, but this time with him having kids.
That sounds weird. But yeah, well,
I mean, it's like him he's the father now, and he's got his kids are crazy.
Oh, yeah. That might be good. I'll pitch it to him.
Hey, if you need me to finish that thought, let's have a meeting and we'll write the whole script.
When next time I'm backstage chatting with him about his marriage, I'll be like, by the way.
So how many grapes? How many grapes are you gonna give Michael Carbonaro? That just sounds fun to say. How many grapes are you gonna give him?
Michael gets 4 grapes. I know we're capped at 3.
We're capped at 3.
He's amazing. Kathy gets 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, 2's a good score.
Yeah. Nothing to pish posh at.
Look, you can't say it like, she gets 2 because we can't have her pissed at all Watermark employees.
I mean,
1 is enough. She's like, yeah, you know what? I gave you -30 grapes, you bastards.
Anyway, how was your week?
Was that it? That's all. That was your whole week?
I mean, that was all I want to talk about.
Okay. Oh. My week was good. I went to see Peter Pan on Tuesday.
Yeah, you did.
It stars. I'm just kidding. I did on Tuesday, and then
did you know that Captain Hook and the dad are the same guy?
What?
Yeah,
I'm aware. Good show. Anyway, so I left here, and then that morning I went back to St. Pete because I had a meeting. We were meeting with the Tampa Bay Rays about their Pride Night, and I just like to point this out because I enjoy baseball, like live baseball. Like I don't want to watch it on TV. I will, but I'd rather watch it live. It's like music, right? I can listen to any music live, almost. I can't listen to screaming into a microphone, but any like other things I can listen to live. Like I didn't like Hamilton's soundtrack, but when I saw the show, I was like, ooh, live, it's great. So, but I get like really kind of like nerdy about it or like fangirl about being there. So we were in this conference room that was like dead center field and it looked out over the whole stadium and there were graduations going on and it was just super cool. It was just really cool to be there and for them to invite us to get our opinions of the things that they're working on. But then I found something out and I got really sad. So because I played in the Suncoast Softball League. I've been at Central Florida Softball League. I was playing in that for like 15 years. Then I moved over to the Suncoast Softball League and played there for a little while, which is the gay Tampa Bay League. And I guess the Rays are huge sponsors of that. And Saturday, like a couple of Saturdays from now, is the season ender for the Suncoast Softball League. And for their end-of-year party, they're inviting them all to Raymond James Stadium. And they're all going to take batting practice. 180 people they're allowing to come and hit softballs on that field. And I was like, what? I was like, well, I picked the wrong year to quit the Suncoast Softball League. And then they all laughed. And I said, but I sponsor a team, so I will be there. And they were like, you're welcome to come. So I was like, oh, yay. And then I found out it's June 1st. So I won't be there. Kidding. But anyway, that was super fun. It was really cool. They saw a lot of stuff, and I wouldn't leave. Like they had to kick me out because I'm like, I just want to sit here and stare at the field all the time and ask them all kinds of questions. And it's going to be a really cool day. There's a surprise that they're doing that I'm not going to tell anybody about because I want it, and it's only for the first 12,000 people who show up. So I'm not even going to tell you when that game is. I'm just kidding. It's June 8th. June 8th at 4:10, and they're playing the Blue Jays? I don't know. Something like that. Anyway, it's a lot of fun. You should go. And if you haven't got your tickets yet and you want to go and you're like, ooh, I want to sit somewhere really cool, then order your tickets through Come Out St. Pete because they've rented out this whole ground level area. Oh, they're playing the Orioles? Oh, the Orioles are pretty good. Every time I go to watch the Rays play, they lose, and it doesn't sound like they're going to win this one if it's the Orioles. Are the Orioles? Where are the Orioles in the standings? I know that this is, hey, sports is entertainment to me, so we can cover this.
While she's looking that up,
they're giving out Pride Ozempic at the. No, I'm just kidding.
When I did my short stint in Tampa Bay for Watermark, I actually got to interview the general manager of the Rays because we made him one of our remarkable people when they started their Pride games.
They've done their Pride games for a long time, and they're really cool. They're also doing some things internally that
they're 29-15.
They are how many games? There are 6 games ahead of the Rays. Yeah, that doesn't look like the Rays are going to win that one. But they're super nice, and they're doing this like trans-inclusive training for the people in the Rays, and they're inviting other organizations, other professional teams to come around. And it's just something they're doing internally. I just think it's really cool. They seem to really care. And they're supporters of us. They advertise with us year-round, and they're great. Well, when I say us, I mean Watermark. If they want to sponsor the podcast, hey, www.watermarkonline.com. Give us a shout. So that was cool. I give the Rays 3 grapes. I know, it's not that kind of rating, but I enjoy it. And then
I give them 4 balls.
So they get their base. Did you mean to make that joke?
Yeah, I know a little bit about baseball. It wasn't a testicle joke.
I was like, oh, hey, look, if you've got 4 balls, call Pineapple Healthcare. So that was cool. And then after that was Wednesday. Then Friday, my niece was graduating from Syracuse University. I think she got a sociology degree, but it's her master's. So she's kind of like the most educated Claggett, which was my former name before I got married, on Earth that we know of. So it's good for her. So we flew up there. I learned that I'm like I guess I'm just corny. I think you all know that. You work with me. But I found out that I'm the corny uncle, and I just do things to make myself laugh. So she had, like, her graduation party had all of these, like, cards out there, and one of them was share a memory with the graduate. So I grabbed a card, and I was like, remember that time when you graduated with your master's, and we had that party at Green Lake State Park? I was like, yeah, that was fun. And I turned that in, and then somebody took a video of her reading it. She's like, oh, my God. That was funny. And then there was a card, like, give advice. And it says, one thing was like, I hope you never, and then it's blank, and you got to fill it in. So I hope you never trust a fart.
That's good advice.
It's okay, too. I said, ditch your friends if you're going to get some.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I gave sound advice, but the last one was like, please don't. And then it said, ever listen to my advice.
That is also legit advice. Yeah, it's good.
Then there was this one. there's
Oh, what a conundrum. It's good advice, but I can't listen to it.
she read it and then her head exploded. She's no longer of this earth. Now, we went to there's another card and it said it was like guess if the has the graduate ever like got a speeding ticket or this kind of thing, and one was ever made a prank call. And so I couldn't just answer yes or no. I had to write why. So it was like, yes, she's made a prank call because she has your car's extended warranty. Corny.
What?
Oh, you're back?
What did you say?
He checked out while he's like, Rick's talking about his week. I have time to go to the bathroom. I'm sure they do that on shows like Morning Show. Anyway, it was super fun.
To check on. What's up?
I have been, but I want to point this out too. I've been sick for like 24 hours, and it's because I had the most delicious barbecue I've ever had in my life. Now, before I went to this thing, I was eating healthy for like a week or a week and a half. So then we get there, and there's like all this barbecue, and it smelled so good, and it was insane. So I ate like 2 plates of it, and I've just been for 24 hours burping up barbecue. It's painful.
Gross.
It's gross. I hate it, but it was so good. So shout out to Dinosaur Barbecue in Syracuse. That was some good stuff. You get 3 grapes. All 3 of them.
3 grapes
Can I tell you about my
in
flight?
barbecue sauce.
Can I tell you this flight this morning? Why I'm in such a good mood?
Sure.
Because you know I'm not.
Yeah.
You put a microphone in front of me, I'll make a joke, but I am extremely exhausted. So the flight was at 6 a.m. And I can't sleep in a room when someone's moving around or doing anything. Like I'm very particular when it comes to sleeping. I just need it quiet. I need silence, and I need my dog. I had none of that with me. So I got up at like 3:30 this morning. Our flight was at 6. I kept saying, Jen was with me, and she's like, do you want water? Do you want anything to drink? Do you want anything for breakfast? Blah, blah. I said, no, I want nothing. I don't even want to pretend that I'm awake right now. I'm going to turn in this rental car. We're going to get on that plane, and I'm going to go to sleep. And we get on that plane, and it starts taxiing, and about 3 rows behind me, this like someone was killing it. This child was screaming for his Nana. Unfortunately for me,
You are not the Nana.
Nana was sitting right in front of me. Now, Nana, by the way, no quiet person herself. She talked the entire time, and she talked about Hawaii. And then when the plane landed, though, I told Jen, I was like, well, we have to follow them, the baggage claim now. I have to find out how she thinks she's going to afford to buy a house in Hawaii and live there. Anyway, do you know what she sounded like? You ever watch the YouTube videos? Everybody's so creative.
Yes.
She sounded just like that woman. In fact, so much I thought it might have been her, and that I would have given them a pass, but no, it wasn't her. Anyway, the kid's screaming. So then the father, takes the kid and sits him next to Nana. So they sat there and made noise the whole time. And then when it's getting ready to land, the kid starts screeching again. I mean, he's been making noise and yelling the whole time, but screeching so much. He was in the aisle seat, head cocked to the side, down like this. I hope you're watching this video. And just drool, screaming. And he's screaming for his dad. He's like, Dad! It's all coming down. And the grandmother's just like, it's okay. Everybody's used to having children on a plane. It's okay. And then you hear, now don't bite me. and then it's okay. Don't bite me 3 times. Kid bit her 3 times. Good. So she should have smacked the kid 3 times. So then, I think terrible things when this is happening. I don't know if y'all know this about me, but those people that they talk about how noises make them angry, and that there's something wrong. If you hear people chewing, and they're like, "There's something wrong with you," because it makes you so mad when you hear people chewing, loud, instant noises, screaming children. I get really angry. So I was just thinking, can I offer them a Benadryl? Why don't people do that? I don't know. Just give your kid Benadryl. Give him a shot of whiskey. Put him to sleep. So anyway, screaming for his father. The plane's descending. We're down low enough where it's starting to speed up because it's okay, we're going to go into the landing thing. Guy just gets up, walks up, picks up his kid, walks back, sits down. And then the kid was quiet. And I said, if they walk past me and that kid is asleep, I'm going to scream. I'm going to wake him up. Anyway.
He's probably sleeping right now,
Ugh.
all curled up in his crib. I don't know.
You know what? I hope that he's too excited to be here and he doesn't want to sleep because he's going to go see Mickey Mouse and he's tired and cranky and screaming and they have to listen to it all day. Anyway, I mean, I get it. It was a kid's first flight. He doesn't understand what's going on. So I blame the parents for not drugging him. So I've been up since 3:30.
Lovely.
Anyway,
Sounds like a fun trip.
that was my week. And what's so exciting about this week is that I think we've planned it so that I don't have any time to sleep this week either.
Yeah. Because we're gonna be fringing all week.
All week.
I think we have a reprieve. Well, I have a reprieve on Wednesday
Because I'm driving
because
to
you're
St.
driving
Pete
to St. Pete to see another
to
show.
go see Hedwig, which I'm super excited about. It's playing at American Stage. I'm excited about it. I saw a video that they put out, and I'm hoping that it was filmed on like a cell phone. But I think it's gonna be right. People who have gone to see it say it's really good.
Yeah.
But Hedwig's just a good show. I'm a big fan.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all right. Not one of my favorites, but you like it, so that's all that matters.
Yeah. It's true.
But it's an all right show. I'd give it a grape.
It's no Hook.
It certainly is not.
So should we jump into our
Let's
exciting?
jump into the finale of Mary and George.
This is the last. So if our mothers are listening, this is the last time that you may hear us say the C word for a while.
Yeah. Unless we watch another historical drama
From England.
Those Brits sure do love that word. So yeah, Mary and George wraps up with episode 7 titled War.
Did you have, before we get into it, did you have any predictions on how it would end?
No. I'm not even sure the way that it ended is historically accurate. So no, I did not see that coming.
I don't know how it can be.
No. I mean, I can see how it could be. People were dicks back then.
No, I mean, but what George's life would have been different if he actually did what he did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, they don't know that he did if he did.
Did they not have forensics back then? Could they not tell
in the 1600s?
Right, well,
I don't think
before I give the spoiler of the spoiler away.
The royal
could you
family
not-
CSI.
Could you not look at somebody and tell, like, okay, so if you're looking at somebody and they've got stab wounds in them, you can say, it looks like they got stabbed. If you looked at somebody and they had holes in them, you might think they got shot. But,
If you're not breathing,
but your eyes would tell the story.
we're gonna spoil it anyway. So what?
If you're,
what are you talking about?
if somebody chokes you out,
mm-hmm.
your eyes will be bloodshot.
Well, he also
You're gonna have bruises all over your face and neck.
Yeah, I mean, first, they were stupid back then. They used to put leeches on you when you had diseases because it sucked the evil out of you.
Well, they still do that.
So they're where?
Like if you've got an injury or something and you have surgery and then too much blood flow, it doesn't have enough blood flow on it, then they'll put leeches in there that'll suck the blood out of it.
Who? Not in America.
Would you just Google real fast? Do they use leeches in surgeries today? Because also I've heard that they use maggots.
No, I have never heard of such a thing outside of the medieval times.
Now, if you watch Sling TV and you watch a lot of doctor shows on Sling, then you are an honorary doctor. And I watch shows and I've seen them do this, so it must be. Yes, leeches are used in my.
I want to know what countries, because I'm almost 100% certain they don't do that shit in America anymore.
See if it says are leeches used in America.
Well, this is Tampa.
Oh, well,
I said, America.
That tracks. Just kidding, Tampa. We love you.
I will say nothing against hospitals that do that, but if I found out that a hospital I was going to used leeches, I would not go to your hospital.
Well, they're approved by the FDA.
No, they actually save people's limbs. Like if they're like you're gonna lose your fingers or something, they'll put leeches on them, and it'll get the blood flowing to them, and you'll be fine.
Well, that's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard in my life, and I need better medical science.
And you've
than
seen
that.
naked boys singing.
I need much better medical science than that. Stop using leeches for your. I bet they aren't paid, which means they're slave leeches. Anyway. They were idiots back then, and they thought he died of smoke inhalation. And they're probably like, oh, those are probably dirt smudges.
Well, I'm just going to tell you, he got what he deserved because, listen, I mean, we talked about this. Unless you've got security around you, don't threaten the life of somebody that you think could possibly murder you because they're going to. Anyway, go ahead.
Let's jump ahead.
Let's go back a little bit to the beginning of the episode.
Dadu. So the episode starts in 1623. George and Prince Charles have gone to meet the Spanish Infanta. And as any good prince would do when you're trying to showcase how much a merger of England and Spain would bring great prosperity to both countries, you sing a Coldplay song. And I don't think this is an actual Coldplay song, but he sounds just like Chris Martin from Coldplay, which was annoying the fuck out of me.
I am not going to let you destroy the only good part of this finale. He has a good voice, and it made me go look him up. So Sam Blinken, who plays Prince Charles, I'm gonna get this name wrong. Could it possibly be? Is anybody familiar with Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, the Broadway show?
Mm-mm.
He was.
I mean, I know
Scorpius Malfoy. Yeah, he plays Scorpius Malfoy in it, and I watched a couple of videos of him singing. He's good.
Nice. He's kind of a squirmy little weaselly Coldplay looking fella, and he sounds like Chris Martin in this. And the Infanta seemed to enjoy it. No one else did, though. Although they all applaud because, she applauds, you applaud. That's how royalty works. So
did you see how vehemently George clapped?
Yes.
It reminded me of you at an event when you want to be the first person to clap.
Yeah.
After somebody talked. He was just like...
He's like, well done, Charles.
That's my boy. Don't kill me because I'm gay.
Now, while he's singing, it seems like everybody's looking at George. And I was like, oh, he must be very popular. And it turns out the four people who were staring at him, he fucked while he was in Spain. That's why they were staring at him.
And they showed clips of it. Do you know what my note was? Mothers, please put the fast forward 10 seconds. I wrote, who does a bitch gotta fuck to get this kid married? Apparently everyone.
Yeah.
He screwed everyone.
Yeah. So he's making his way through Spain like a college backpacking through Europe, just banging whoever he comes across. Meanwhile, Mary is in search of Bacon. She finds Bacon, who is not doing so well. He's living in what looks like a burnt-out, abandoned house amongst rubble. Is he wearing a fake nose? That's a fake nose.
Yes, he's got a fake metal nose because his nose got poxed out.
Yeah. And Mary comes up behind him with a knife, and you can see the look in his eyes like, yes, please, end this for me. And she's like, no, this is worse. Living like this is worse than anything death would bring you, so I'm going to leave you here. And he's like, end my suffering. And she's like, no, you live in your suffering. And she's all smug, and she's like, haha, enjoy this shithole. And he's like, oh, by the way, your son told me I could kill your whore. And she's like, no, not my George. My George wouldn't do that. But yeah, he told her.
What a bunch of rats this last show
There are
is.
no loyal friends in the 1600s.
No, and then, she's like, he wouldn't do that. And then, of course, she's like, he did it, and I will destroy him. And then, everybody's like that about him. They'll say, oh, he did this. No, he could never do that. I will have him murdered.
Yeah. Well, she ends up getting confirmation from George eventually.
Yeah.
So we go back to Spain. George and Charles are meeting with the negotiators, and they're like, it's just you two? They've got like a whole team of Spanish negotiators, and they're like, it's just us. And George is like, when you have peace and love in your heart, all you need is us. And they're like, yeah, we're done here. So the first thing they say is, before they even start the talks, Charles will have to convert to Catholicism. And they're like, that is a no-starter. And they're like, deuces, we're rolling out.
Did they not know his father was commissioning a Bible?
Yeah. Oh, my God. I don't know if you watch this after Mary and George, but on Stars, they have a behind-the-scenes look at the show, but also some of the history of it. Do you know?
In the last seconds of this show, there is a voice singing the most horrendous song I've ever heard, and I refuse to watch anything more of Mary and George. So no, I didn't go to it for fear that they might play that song again.
Here's the most baffling thing. People are like, oh, King James, he was a flaming homosexual. Why would he make this Bible that everybody refers to when they're damning homosexuals? Do you know that he strengthened the anti-sodomy laws so that if you committed sodomy in England, you were put to death? This man who has taken it from like 9 different dudes?
Really?
Yeah. Crazy.
Sounds like he's
was
a
like,
little
I'm
self-loathing.
the only bottom.
Oh. So wait, you couldn't just take it. You could give it, but you couldn't take it.
I don't know the specifics. I just know sodomy, committing sodomy, committing sodomy.
Sounds like a card game,
but
not one that you can. Not solitaire because you can't play it alone.
Committing sodomy was punishable by death. That's all I know. I don't know if like the taker and the receiver got the same punishment, or like the bottom was put to death, but the top had to become the bottom. And then he was put to death, and it was just like a cycle. I don't know how that works. Anyway, he strengthened the sodomy laws, which seems very hypocritical, particularly if you've seen this show.
Sounds like a senator from South Carolina, allegedly.
So meanwhile, back in England, oh yes,
sorry, it just occurred to me. Lindsey Graham is from South Carolina. He's a senator from South Carolina, right?
He sure is. Yeah.
And Tim Scott's the other one.
Yeah.
So there are now two people that people allege are gay.
Yeah.
Huh. Did you hear the log cabin Republicans are backing Tim Scott to be VP because they think he's a closeted homosexual, and they'll be like, he'll help us.
Yeah.
Watch Mary and George.
Yeah. That obviously is not how that works. So speaking of James, Mary arranges because she's been kind of cast out of James's good grace. So she arranges to meet James on the carriage ride up to his where he's staying at while he's recouping because he's sick. If you remember from last episode, he's quite sick. So
what's he got? What do you think? Did he catch the consumption?
I think probably, yeah. I feel like everyone died of consumption or syphilis back then, so it's one or the other. Probably syphilis.
He didn't have anything. He didn't have anything on his face.
That's true. But maybe Bacon was like putting his face down in the syphilis. I don't know how syphilis works. I've never had it.
That sounds awful.
It does.
Bacon was putting his face down in the syphilis. That's a visual.
So Mary broke her carriage, and she's off on the side of the road, and she's like, oh, my, King James, thank you for coming along this dirt road and rescuing me. And he's like, the fuck you doing on this road anyway, waiting for me?
I know. He's like, it's a smooth road. It shouldn't have busted your tire.
Yeah. And she's like,
or wooden spool.
So
she's so transparent.
She is. She's kind of canoodling up to James, trying to get back in his good graces. Meanwhile, back in Spain, George goes to the lead negotiator and tries to do what George does best. Suck his dick. He tries to canoodle to him, and he's like, I'm sure there are things we can do to get Charles and the Infanta together. And he's like, I ain't falling for this. And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And he's like, back away, faggot. And he's like, oh. And then he gets angry because he calls him on his shit and says, oh, we all know about you. And he's like, what do you mean, you people? And he goes on this tirade, which is so George, about how he's like, I am the king, I am England, and I will destroy you. Come on, George, come on.
Yeah, you don't even have enough money to get a plane ticket home, kid.
No, George.
You gotta. Watching him get home to England was like watching Barbie get to the real world.
It was just, come on, George, come on. So
Right, like you're pretty, and then you talk.
yeah, less talking,
More prettying.
more prettying. So yeah, that's where you got it. You got George and Charles are over in Spain. You got Mary, canoodling up to James. She appeals to him because he's all like, oh, I know what you're doing. You and your son can sing. And she appeals to the fact that he didn't know his mother. And she's like, yes, he can give you the kind of loving at night. But she goes, I can give you something that you haven't had before. I can give you motherly advice, be like a mother to you, which appeals to James. So he ends up getting close with Mary while they're gone. And
he is just like, I mean, if he was left alone in a room with a frog, he'd marry the frog.
Yeah.
He's just so desperate. He's thirsty. He needs something. Like, just spend some time alone.
He is very much the kind of person who the person in front of him is his favorite person in the world. So it's Mary right now. So he's like, I love you, Mary. But it's going to change. So George and Charles are heading back, and Charles is all, I don't know what's going on. Why are we leaving? And he's like, let's just go. And he's like, I don't understand. I don't get it.
How did England survive?
Right? If these two are supposed to be saving the country, I'm surprised that we didn't take them over.
Right.
So George is like, you want to know what happened, Charles? They said the Infanta deserved more than a little bitch boy like you. Now, I'm paraphrasing here, but that's basically what he tells him.
Which is untrue.
Which is untrue, yes. I mean, he is a bitch boy. But it is untrue that is what happened. What happened is George fucked it up by trying to fuck the guy. So George is like, we're going to make Spain pay. Let's go. And he's like, okay, Charles, George. And they ride back to Spain. Or England.
Prince Charles is played in this version by Mickey Mouse.
Yeah. So they go back in, they walk in, and George is surprised because his mother's there. And he thinks he's going to come in. He's going to be like, oh, hey, King James, my boyfriend. We tried, but...
I know. They're sitting there having dinner, and George walks in, and he's like... And Charles is like, it was difficult, father. And then George busts in with, it's so nice to see you.
Hey, baby.
How you doing? And then his mom
I've
walks into the
you.
room and says, how did it go? Like, it was just all very...
The look on his face, he's like, what the fuck is she doing here? So they try to explain, and the king says, I'm too tired for bad news right now. I'm going to bed. George is like, oh, I'll come with you. And Mary's like, no, he needs to be alone. And James goes on, and he's like, what the fuck? So Mary and George confront each other, and this is where Mary finds out that George did, in fact, give the okay for Sandy to die. And Mary's like, it doesn't even seem like you have any remorse for what you did. And he goes, I don't. And she's like, well, fuck you then. And he's like, I'm going to go now see James. And she's like, James doesn't lie with anyone anymore. Sorry. You can't coerce him with your penis anymore. So.
Or can he?
Dun,
dun, dun.
So the next morning, George and Charles go in to see the king. Mary's there already, tending to James. And George tries to be all lovey and flirty and everything. And James tells him, good God, stop slobbering all over me like a dog with a big bone, which cracked me up. So James says, you failed. Let's just leave it at that. And this is, I think, probably your favorite part of the episode, because he's like, you know what? It's whatever. We know that you fucked up, so let's leave it at that. George goes into the woods and just screams and cries and yells to the heavens. He just has a fit, just kicking leaves, throwing branches.
Maybe he was on my plane.
It might have been him. He just throws a fit. And I'm watching the whole time. I was like, this has got to be Rick's favorite part. He loves to watch this little whiny kid suffer.
I'm so pretty. My life sucks.
So,
I've already described my favorite part is when the kid sang in the beginning of the show.
of course.
It was downhill from there.
So Charles goes in to chat with Mary, and he's like, listen, things didn't go so well. So I think that I need advice from you. And she's like, oh, okay. And he's like talking to her, and then she calls him on his shit, and she's like, yeah, you don't need advice from me. You're in here trying to distract me. And she's like, where is George? And then we cut to George at James's bedside, and he's like, hey there, little guy, you waking up? How you doing? I got something to show you. And while he was throwing a fit in the woods, George, this is kind of cute. It's romantic. He made like a little like a camp out in the middle of the woods with a bed and candles and brandy. We forgot to mention, because James is so sick, he's not supposed to be drinking any alcohol. And George stocks their little camp full of brandy.
I may be off base here, but I'm just gonna say this just goes to show you how much Jeremy wants to marry this guy. If this had happened in any other show and had any other person doing this, Jeremy would be like, that's so lame.
I thought it was lovely. The work he must have put in to have this put
Proving
together.
my point.
You're just jealous that he's so pretty. So they go into the woods in their little romantic camp, and they're drinking, and then they're getting ready to make love because they love each other. And James looks at George, and he says in his most romantic tone, fuck me alive again. I'm like, oh, you with your swooning.
Just like an Air Supply song.
Yeah.
So much love and such wonderful poetry.
So he does. He fucks him alive again. I don't know if it's so much the fucking or the brandy, but he's a lot more perky afterwards.
Yeah.
So they're laying in bed post coitus.
In bed. They're laying on a blanket in the woods.
No, that's a full bed out there. He had it all set up it's like a bedroom out in the woods.
I'm sure that you and I, at moments like this, look at different things and focus on different things. But did you notice how stark white they both are?
Yes, they are very white people.
They were white.
You know what else I noticed right before they did it? James' kiss is real fucking weird. Like, they went to kiss, and then James opened his mouth wide and put his nose and upper lip in his mouth, and he's like, ah.
Yeah. So again, I'm watching this guy inhale an entire beard and nose and mouth. It's not for me.
Yeah. I could have done without the James part. So
he could eat my beard.
I can open my mouth real wide there, George.
Commercial break.
So they're laying there post-coitus, and James asks what happened over there, and George tells him, we did everything right. We were so good. We did everything right, and the Spaniards were just monsters to us, especially your son, Charles. They treated him like shit.
I will say this. Even though he's lying, he's actually not. I mean,
No,
it's
they
true.
really did,
They
yeah.
really were
They were
screwing
dicks to
with
him,
him, and they really were making him wait and mocking them in a way. They had no intention of making this work. So that's true. It's just that George was butthurt because the guy wouldn't let him do the thing and get what he wanted.
He wouldn't let him do the butt hurt, so he got butt hurt.
Well, probably because sodomy was against the law.
Yeah. In Spain? I don't know what the rules were in Spain. It might have been legal in Spain.
Probably was.
I don't know. They were Catholic, so as long as you didn't wear a rubber, they were fine with anything.
Yeah, you could do anything and then just pay $5 to the church and you're going to heaven.
So George tells James, you're not going to let that stand, are you? So we cut to Mary and Charles in the room. They're looking out the window, and George has got James on his back, and they're galloping through the garden. And you can see the look on Mary's face, fuck, he got him. They were able to fornicate. Now they're running around the garden like a bunch of little homos.
Frolicking, even.
Frolicking. Oh, that's a good word. They were definitely frolicking. So Charles tells Mary, don't be jealous. I was jealous too. They just have a different kind of love. And Mary tells Charles, George loves only one person, and it's not James. Spoiler.
Who do you think it
it's
is?
himself.
Oh.
It's himself.
I thought maybe his wife.
Oh, no. He
Or his
doesn't love
mother.
her. He just wants to make babies. So Mary and George get into it again, and James comes in, and Mary tells George that Charles is going to London with George and Charles are going to London to address Parliament on this the Spain business. And he goes, I think it's time you went home, Mary. And she's like, oh, no, I've lost. So that's what happens.
And then she said, I'll get you, my pretty.
And she will. And she
And your
does.
little Charles, too.
End scene. No, so George and Charles go to see Coke, Sir Coke. And
Attaboy.
there were did you see that part? He has bodies hanging out front
Yeah,
of it.
why?
They never mentioned it. I'm
No.
like, why are they dangling out? There's like 6 bodies hanging from the tree out in front of his office.
It's just what they do.
And it's just like, oh, hey, don't mind them.
Are we not entertaining you? Caitlin's over here yawning during
The
story.
thought of bodies hanging from trees made Caitlin yawn.
She's like, oh,
just 6.
you cut them off, cut their heads off with an axe, or don't even bother showing them.
So they go to Sir Coke, and they're like, hey, we want to talk to Parliament. Well, George does, and Coke is like, I ain't listening to you. And so Charles is just parroting everything George is saying. So George is like, we want to speak to Parliament. And he's like, And Charles goes, yeah, we're going to speak to Parliament. And Coke goes, okay. And George goes, I'm going to talk to them. And then Coke looks over at Charles, and Charles goes, yeah, he's going to talk to them. And he goes, okay. So he obviously does not care for George, which we know. He hates him and his mother. But the prince is telling him that they're going to do it. So George goes and gives a rousing speech. I feel like Parliament really wants to go to war with Spain, so he could have gone in there and been just, said whatever, and they've been like, yeah, war. But he kind of gives a rousing speech. It wasn't that rousing, but
It reminded me of that scene from Jesus Christ Superstar when they're trying to get them to go kill Jesus. And they're all like, and then everybody starts chanting, and then like when the Parliament started chanting, I was like, oh, this is just like that.
Yeah. So while they're there, James.
If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about.
So while they're rousing up for war, Mary goes back to see James, who's laid out in his camp, his wood camp that his boyfriend made him. And he's like, what the fuck are you doing here, woman? I sent you away. And she's like, FYI, we're probably going to war. I don't know if you heard, but your boyfriend just declared war on Spain, basically. And he's like, no, he wouldn't
do that.
That's my boyfriend. He wouldn't do that to me.
Wait a minute. He must have.
And so Mary's like, yeah, you have let George ruin you because of your appetites, because you liked my son's wiener.
Which she orchestrated the whole thing.
Yeah, so it's weird how they're both kind of like, they work together to get to this, and now they're both like, fuck that other one. So James said something very interesting, because he's like, he wouldn't do that. And she's like, wouldn't he? And you can see he's lost it, and his face just drains, and he's like, it is late. It is too late in the day for me. Which he knows he's going to die. He knows he's nearing death, and he's like, I can't with this shit anymore. So he takes the brandy and starts drinking it, and he starts dousing the camp in brandy. And you know where this is going. He's like pouring alcohol over everything. He's going to set some shit on fire. So that's what happened. George and it's coming back to see his daddy, and he sees fire in the woods. So he goes running out there, and there's James and there's Mary, and the camp is aflamed. And James loses it on
Again.
George. So James strips him of all his titles, and he's like, you're going to hang, and what you did is treason, and I am the king.
So so this conversation starts, and he was like, "How you've been lying to me?" And he's like, "No, I haven't. I love you. It was all about love." And then the mother's like, "He was lying to you." And then the king says, "That's right. You're lying to me, and now you're gonna die." And then
she's
the mother's
like,
like,
"Oh, wait a minute. That's still my son.
Can we take a step back here?
Let's all just breathe for a minute."
Like, what did you think he was gonna do?
Yeah. So she just thought she was going to teach her son a lesson. Now she's got him walking to the gallows, and she's like, no, that's not what we meant. That's not what we meant.
Yeah. So here you are, right? This is just advice for everybody. If you ever find yourself in the woods with two people who are trying to manipulate you into getting all of your power, and you decide to tell them against their wishes that you're going to kill one of them, and you're alone in the woods with them, keep it to yourself.
Yeah. Maybe don't pass out.
Yeah.
Because that's what he did. James said, you're going to death, and I'm going to hang you. And then he passes out. And they're like, they look at each other like, what do we do? So James picks up his good old King James, or George picks up his good old King James.
Here's my advice to them, though. If you are on the other side of that and somebody says to you, I'm going to kill you, and then they pass out, you've already got a fire. Just like, in Titanic with the...
Chuck him in the fire.
I mean, and then you got no problems, and you could just say, oh, the fire got him. We tried to save him.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't advocate murder, but I'm just saying, if you find yourself in this situation.
Yeah. So they go back to the house. They put him in bed, and Charles comes in, and they're like, hey, Charles, you're the fastest horse rider, so you need to run and get the physician. And he's like, but he's my father. I should be here. And they're like, no, he'll die. You must run now. And he's like, oh, okay. So he gets on his horse, and he takes off to get the physician. So now James is in bed, left alone with Mary and George. And Mary and George look at each other. You know what they're going to do. You know what they're going to do. So Mary turns and looks out the window. You don't think that they said it with their eyes?
I'm just confused about the next steps. Did they poison the water?
Well, he goes to feed him because it's that milky thing that they were giving him when he was sick.
And
so I
like,
think that they probably poisoned it.
He's like, he probably needs water, and he's like, he's not gonna kill me. He didn't mean it. Well, he looked like he meant it. Well, I'm gonna give him water anyway. So, I mean, at what point in pouring the water did he decide? I mean, was he trying to drown him with it?
Oh, Caitlin read that. Yes, that is what he was trying to do. Drown him with the water.
But at first he was just letting it drink it, and then his eyes open, and he goes, "Oh no, I'm nursing him back to health. Pour it all in there. Waterboard him." All right.
And then
it was just weird and milky.
It was very milky. I think it was. I don't think it was water. Anyway, so after he poured the milky substance down his throat, he covers up his nose and his mouth, and Mary stares out the window as they send him off to the flowers. They murdered the king. He died.
Which odd. My prediction was that the king was going to kill George, not that George was going to kill the king.
Oh, yeah. No, I didn't know if he was going to kill him, but I was pretty sure that he was going to outlive the king. That king was not in a good...
I also thought that his reaction to the head getting cut off a couple episodes ago was foreshadowing that was what was going to happen to him.
Yeah.
So then, the weirdest scene of all.
Well, Charles becomes king. George has another baby with Catherine. They fast forward a little bit. It's like a quick little, here's what happened after the king died. And then Charles signs a declaration of war against Spain, and they go to war with Spain. Then we fast forward 5 years, 1628. England's been at war with Spain for a while. They're now going to war with France. King James is dead, and they're like, we're just going to fuck with everybody now. So George goes into a bar for a drink, and he's chatting with this lad, and George is kind of sweet on him, and he's like, oh, you're a handsome fella. And he's like, you're basically a loser. You've lost a bunch of wars, and you're a loser, and I don't want you to lose everything. And this kind of turns George on more, and he's like, oh, okay, well, I have a room here, and we can go upstairs, and you can tell me all more about how I'm a loser up in my room. And the guy's like, you don't remember me, do you? And he's like, I see a lot of
Just for the record, if anybody says that to you, leave.
Yeah, you should have walked out right
Whatever's
going
to happen next is not good for you.
And the guy tells him, I was part of your regiment. You led me into an unwinnable battle with all my friends, and all my friends are dead. And now so are you. And he stabs him. And he pulls the knife out and he stabs him again. And then he collapses dead.
And everybody else in the bar is just standing around like, huh?
Probably thinking, about time.
Were they? Or I got an impression that those were all of his soldiers that were there too, and that they were all like, "Oh, that's our leader, dude."
Leader dude.
Lederhosen.
So then one of the housekeepers comes up to Mary and says, George is dead. And she's just kind of like, And she says, would you like to know how? And she almost looks in the camera and she's like, why? How else was this supposed to end? And then roll credit.
No. And then roll the worst song ever made.
Well, it ends with Mary. She's at the head of the table. And George's kids and his wife are running around, and her son's there, and his wife, and her other son, and the housekeeper who her son gouged out the eye with, and she's got like a scar and a glass eye, and she's just standing there looking at what life she's got left with all these rambunctious brats running all over.
She got the kid that's a little off, and then that kid's wife that's super unhappy and pregnant.
Just a shit show of a family. And she's like, well, this is it. And then she looks at the camera almost to say, this was fucking not worth it. End roll credits.
It's almost like it ended the way it started when they're, at their dinner with that guy that they all, like their first husband. And she's like, George is going to do all this great stuff and he's going to get me out of here. But that's the weird thing is because he did. And then she got all nuts about it all.
Mm-hmm.
Just really weird.
Right back to the same life she had.
I enjoyed this show up until this episode, I think.
Oh, I didn't hate this episode.
I just think that it felt rushed at the end. It felt unemotional, completely unemotional. Like there was I didn't care if anybody died. There was no attachment to people. There was no growth in people. It was just like you said, her face was like, well, here I am back where I was 8 episodes ago. So everything that happened was for nothing.
Yeah. But I think that's the point of the series because this was based on a true story. And this, I mean, she actually, did this shit where was a nobody and moved her way up and got everything she wanted and was still not happy. And I think that's the point. And I don't think you have to have a show where you root for everybody. Sometimes you just hate everybody in the show.
Just one person. If I could root for one person.
See, I don't need... Joey's that way. He'll watch a show and he'll be like, I couldn't root for anybody in the show. I don't have to root for anybody.
You know what? Prince Charles. I rooted for him.
And give a
and
fuck
he got
about
to be
him.
king. So there you go.
What a weaselly little bitch he was.
Stop talking about George. I know that you like him, and this is not fair to you.
George
George is weaselly. Ugh.
The real life people, the character they play, they're all terrible people. But Nick Galazine, oh, god damn, he's beautiful. I love him so much.
He is not unattractive.
Anyway, this gets 90 grapes.
So I'm going to assume you're going to give it 3 grapes.
I give it 3 grapes.
You know what? I'm going to give it 2 for 2 reasons. Number 1, that song.
That's funny. The song was my least favorite part of this show.
Yes.
I thought it was...
And it just went on
Oh,
and on.
I meant the opening.
Oh, no, the end. The one at the end. Like, it's just playing, and it's just so obnoxious, and they're, like, going around the room showing everybody, and I'm just like, okay, you can turn this off. Did anything happen after that? Because I turned it off.
No, just credits. She looked in the camera, and then credits run.
I give it 2. I mean, it was good, but it wasn't grape.
Yeah.
I've lost Caitlin.
She's
no longer going to laugh at my jokes.
So, yeah. Good show. It's over. It's a mini-series,
It's
so it's
worth
not like
the
another
watch.
season
It's not
is
like-
coming.
2 means you should watch. 2's good. 2's good. It's good.
And if you watch this and you're like, wow, this whole time period, I find that very fascinating. Currently on YouTube right now, you can watch Elizabeth and Elizabeth the Golden Age for free. Kate Blanchett movies. They're fantastic. I love them.
Just to say, this ended up at a 95 critics, 66 audience. That's where it kind of hovered. I think it went down a point on the audience for the final.
Gotcha.
Finally. So we're probably not going to go too into details about any of these things. So, but we like to, during Fringe time, and Fringe has started. It's going on right now, Orlando Fringe. We like to talk about the shows that we've seen. So we went to 3 press previews.
Yes.
And so we'll just kind of tell you a little bit about it.
Let me grab my notes. 'Cause I wrote about them. All of them.
Do you want me to remind you?
No,
So
I've got them written down here.
Did you really write it? Oh,
Yeah.
Are you just pulling up the article that you read?
I have the article, and I have it written down here.
Oh, okay.
Which
the-
one do you want to talk about
The first one we watched was How the Grinch Killed Christmas, a Who Done It parody.
I see what they did there.
That is put on by Force Perspective Entertainment. It was written by Brian Cantrell, Elizabeth Christie, and Jonathan Barreto.
Yes, and you can watch it in the Peach venue on other times.
Did you know? So this is Elizabeth Christie, who is one of the writers. She played Martha. Right? Martha was the mayor's wife?
Martha.
The mayor's
Nobody
the mayor's
else
wife?
watched Batman vs Superman? All right. I don't remember. Was Martha the wife? I don't remember any of their names. I remember Cindy Lou Who and Grinch.
Yeah, I think that Martha was the wife of the mayor. She was the
one who
that
was
could
in
sing.
love with the Grinch.
Yes, the one who could sing. So she was good. And then Jonathan Barreto, who is one of the other writers, he played the dog.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I wrote down. Look, so this is how this goes. We're going to talk about Fringe shows, and Fringe shows are sometimes really good, and sometimes they're not. But we don't like to trash people's art or what they're doing, because a lot of times it can be experimental, and a lot of times it's fun. You can get really good actors working on a bad script, or bad actors in a good script. You never know what you're gonna get. It's like rolling the dice.
Fringe is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get.
And sometimes you get peas and carrots. Sometimes you get chocolate. Sometimes you get peas and carrots. I thought it was cute. I mean, there were a couple of scenes or some things that made me laugh a lot, because they were making a lot of times too with Orlando Fringe shows. When you got a big ensemble cast, they're going to make very local jokes, and so they were talking a lot about the Houliman House, which was a playoff of the Parliament House, which was a very popular bar here that has closed and rumored to reopen sometime soon. And so somebody said Houliman House, and then somebody else went, "Oh, did that reopen?" And it made me laugh. So that was funny. When the dog called everybody bitches, and then the guy who made the Houliman House joke goes, "Wait a minute, that dog just called us bitches," and it made me laugh too.
Yeah, this was one of the things I like about Fringe is they will take two things that they really enjoy, and then they will merge them together. And the people who made this show really loved the Grinch, How the Grinch Stole Christmas movie with Jim Carrey, and loved the movie Clue from the 80s. So there are a lot of Clue references and a lot of Grinch references, which was good. There's multiple endings, just like the movie Clue, very similar to the way that movie ends. And yeah, it's very kitschy. It's very fun. It's
I do think, though, I mean, they make reference to this in the script, but I just think that the cliche gay character was just a little too overdone.
Yeah.
A little too much. But they do make reference to the fact that that character is written into it for diversity's sake, or that kind of a thing, and it's supposed to be funny, but it was just really it's just too campy for me.
Yeah.
But it's okay. And I also felt like, I'll just say, it's probably because of the Clue-like structure of it. And we also did see a preview, so they had some more rehearsals to go before it went live. So they probably would pick up cues faster and that kind of thing. But there was a lot of repetition, because there's it's a whodunit, right? So they kind of go through and everybody's like, well, this is what happened and this is what happened and I couldn't have done it, or this person might have done it, and blah, blah, blah. And then the narrator goes through and then tells you the whole stories again, and then they reenact them. And then the Clue sign comes out. And it's but they could have happened like this. So it's just a lot of repetition. So it seemed a little long. But I'm sure it tightens up as they rehearse more.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought it was okay. It was fine. Yeah.
Do we want to grape these?
Sure. I'll give it 1.5 grapes.
I gave it a grape. Sometimes I'm not into the Grinch isn't my shtick. So that's probably a lot to do with it, too. I mean, the acting was great. Martha was really good. Very talented. And I wrote down that the little girl, what was her name?
Cindy Lou.
Cindy Lou. She was good, too.
If I had to pick one character who annoyed me, it was Cindy Lou.
Well, I mean, she was good at the character. Is she supposed to be annoying?
The character itself annoyed me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not because in the show she's supposed to be annoying, but just the way that the character is written is very annoying.
Yeah. I think it was a good cast, right? So then we went and saw, right after that, we went and saw a show called Howdy Stranger,
Yes.
which is written and performed by Luca Torrens.
Yes. And it's a one-person show where this cowboy is in love with their horse, and it's their best friend, and their horse gets kidnapped.
Before this starts to turn into like a what's his name? Harry Potter. What's his real name? Daniel Radcliffe show. He wasn't in love with his horse.
He wasn't fucking his horse, but he loved his horse.
He wasn't Catherine the Great in love with his horse.
But the horse gets kidnapped, and
Buttermilk.
Buttermilk goes on this quest to find his horse, and sings some lovely songs along the way, and learns some valuable life lessons.
He's a queer cowboy alone in the desert. Loses his horse in some sort of bet that's kind of stolen from him, and then he goes through this whole adventure to find his horse.
Yeah.
I will say that I think there's a lot of Fringe shows that are one-person shows, and they are so difficult to pull off. To take 1 hour and like keep everybody captured in what you're doing. I thought that this was good. I thought that
really
Luca did a
enjoyed it.
really good job. You'll see this too, because there's varying levels of experience when you see a bunch of shows in a row. And sometimes you'll see like an ensemble cast, and there'll be people who don't know what to do with their hands, or when they're talking, they're not stationary, or when they're not talking, they're not stationary, and they kind of wander around and they kind of sway their bodies and that kind of thing. But then you'll catch like a seasoned actor who knows exactly what they're doing, and all of their movements have purpose. And so this was one of those. This was somebody who was on stage and knew exactly what they were doing from second to second, and I thought it was good. And it was cute and funny. I think that Luca had a good voice, good songs. I was looking at it, and there was a Fringe festival that they won Best of Fringe award for this show.
Oh, yeah. No, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I dig it. I give it 2 grapes.
I'll give it 2 grapes as
a
well.
Solid 2 grapes. So we saw that, and then was this all in the same day? Did we see 3?
No, the next day we saw.
The next day we went to go see a nerdy gay juggling show.
Yes.
By Jacob.
Go ahead.
Distachio.
All right. Yeah, that looks about right.
And I just want to say that the title of this totally gives it away. It was definitely a nerdy gay juggling show.
Yes.
He does. He describes himself a couple of times throughout the show as a gay, nerdy, Jewish guy in the circus with professors as parents, and that's a mouthful, and it's very descriptive. And if you think about all those words together, that's exactly what he was.
Yeah. I really like this show. It's juggling, and in between the juggling, he talks about his life growing up as a juggler and being gay and being Jewish and having parents who were professors. He juggles balls, sticks, knives, balls again.
You know what's interesting to me about this, and this happens a lot in Fringe shows too, is that you'll get like a one-person show, and the show is like my life. My life is interesting, so I'm going to tell you about my life. And sometimes they sing, sometimes they do nothing. They don't do any of that. They just tell the story of their life in a play. But this was, I'm going to entertain you while I talk about my life by doing some crazy juggling things, which I thought was nothing I've seen before, and it was cool. His stories were interesting and funny, but in a very endearing way because he's very nerdy.
Yeah,
and you find yourself rooting for him to get all of the juggling things done right. And what we saw was a press preview, and it was like the first run through in the space. And I gotta say, like, he really he did the best that he could in the space that he was in. He's a tall guy, and he's juggling, which you're gonna juggle 8 balls. You gotta throw them in the air. And the venue that he's in was probably 10 feet tall, and he's probably 6.5 feet tall. And so it looked difficult. Like sometimes he would start juggling, and then he would go down on his knees so that he could get things in the air. I was impressed. I thought it was really good. Very, very endearing. He's the kind of person that you just really like him.
Yeah. I went back and saw it again, and it's a very good show.
I'll ask you this though: when you're watching it, and he, like, it gets to like the part of the story where he's like, and then this great stuff started happening for me, and so then he plays R. Kelly while he's juggling, and I'm like, can you play an R. Kelly song anymore?
I will say one of the nice things, it is not the R. Kelly version.
It's not.
That is not R. Kelly singing, but that it is I Believe I Can Fly by R. Kelly.
If it's not the R. Kelly version, it's okay?
I think so. Which is funny because one of our interns here, Luis, went with us to see it. And on the way there, solely by coincidence, we were talking about graduation. And we talked about when I graduated high school, and my high school graduation, our graduation song was I Believe I Can Fly. So
it's a good song.
I started chuckling as it played because I was like, oh my God, we just talked about this.
The things that he did were terrible. Totally. That is a good song. It's unfortunate when you come across something that somebody who's done something terrible but created this great work. Along those lines, I know Jeremy's going to be like, why are you saying this? As the words come out of my mouth, he's going to be like, no. I didn't think the show was still on the air, but I'm in Syracuse, and I come across the station that's playing The Cosby Show back to back. And I haven't seen it in so long because nobody plays it because the things that he did were terrible. But you watch the show and you're like, oh God, we used to love that show. That's all I'm gonna say about that.
We're just gonna sit in that for a minute.
Listen, I always say this, and this is what I'm gonna say. I think it's terrible. It sucks for everybody. There's so much collateral damage when somebody ruins a show like that, because you look at Felicia Rashad, hilarious in that. And all of those that they spent, like Rudy, I forget, I don't know, but she, from a baby to a teenager, was in this show so much of her life. She should be getting millions of dollars in royalties, because that should be in syndicate. But one person ruins that for so many people. It's just sad. It's like Seventh Heaven, Home Improvement. Just kidding.
I mean, Seventh Heaven was a shit show. Nobody deserves any royalties for that thing.
I used to watch that. What's so funny is like how like anti-organized religion I am, but I watch Highway to Heaven, and I love that. I watch reruns of it because I found a station that plays that. And I used to watch Seventh Heaven because I liked it. I listen to gospel music because I think it's really nice and inspiring. I'm a weird person.
When's the last time you watched an episode of Seventh Heaven?
Seventh Heaven? Yeah. Wait, it's not on. So it's been a while.
Does not hold up. I'm pretty sure you can watch it on. There's a streaming service that has it.
Who was in that? Jennifer Beal?
Jennifer Beal was in it.
I liked her.
The mom who was the mom from Child's Play, the original Chucky.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The dad is a child molester, he's in that.
As I think about it, I'm like, that show's so self-righteous, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know what's good? Highway to Heaven's not like that. I watched recently a couple episodes of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that holds up.
Let's see. You can watch it on Paramount Plus. And Amazon. Oh. I think Amazon, you have to pay for it. You have to buy the episode.
But doesn't it register your name on a list somewhere?
Because it says subscription required. If you click on it, oh, you know what it is? Subscription. You have to have a Paramount Plus subscription through Amazon. That's what it is. But yeah, I have Paramount Plus. You have Paramount Plus.
Yeah.
Go back and just watch a few episodes. That show does not hold up. Now, even given what happened, that show is stupid. I want you to find the one where the little blonde kid joins a gang. And I'm going to use air quotes around gang. It is a horribly stupid show.
I'm going to find that episode.
Okay. Yeah, you need to watch. It's so stupid. So stupid. But yeah, there's things you watch and like you'll go back and watch them at like 30 years later, 20 years later, and you're like, wow, that was on air? Why did we watch this? It's so stupid.
Or like, how do we not have our own TV show with all the crap that's out there?
I agree. So yeah, that being said, sorry to associate you with the Cosby Show and Seventh Heaven, but Nerdy Gay Juggling Show is really good.
I wasn't making that line. I thought we were done with that. Although we didn't grape it.
3 grapes.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it 2.5. I reserve like 3 grapes. It's got to be exceptional.
Now, I did say I went back and saw it, so maybe this would have pushed up to 3 grapes. But one thing he didn't do in the press preview that he did when I went and saw the show again was he does juggle knives, but this time he does, because he also does sword swallowing, but he didn't bring a sword with him. He swallowed a wire hanger while he juggled knives. And I was like...
Jeremy's in the audience going, I said no wire hangers.
I did think that, yes. But when I got there, he had a bottle of Listerine and a roll of paper towels on the end of the stage. And I was like, I don't remember that from the first show. What's it going to do now? But he rubbed the wire hanger down with Listerine and then put it down his throat and juggled knives. And I was like, well, that is a talent. 3 grapes.
3 grapes for rubbing the wire hanger. Nice.
So yeah, I also, and we'll talk about this one next week, but I also went and saw Dungeons and Drag Queen 2nd edition, which you're going to see this week. And we'll talk about next week. But
we had a bunch of shows to see this week. We'll talk about a lot of them next week.
Yeah.
But we're probably not going to come out until Tuesday because Monday's a holiday.
Yeah. But if you do see that one, make sure to get your tickets now because I have seen that every showing for the last 3 or 4 days has been sold out. So make sure you get that one if you really want to see that one.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So we made it through.
Yay. All right. So, get out there, see some Fringe shows, and tune in next week, find out what we thought about them. But until then, the cork is back in the bottle.